going to talk about a bunch of connecting parts that deals with leadership. But before we get to that piece, I'm gonna read you a quote. Okay? So this quote says, "The past is over. Enjoy the memories, learn from the bad ones, and get ready to make some new ones. Your focus should be on the future." Your focus should be on the future. And I emphasize that because you guys are just beginning to start your future. So your focus should be on the future. Don't worry about what happened in the past. It's all over. That's history. Focus on the future. Leadership deals with visionary people focusing on the future. You're running an organization right now, right? Capital leader. And in this organization, you guys are focused on the future. You just did some planning just a minute ago, right?
Yes.
Did not do planning?
No, we did.
Yeah, we did, right? What did we plan?
What were we going to do on December 14th?
Right. So that's looking at the future. Looking at where you're going to go, what you're going to do, how you're going to get it done. Now, to be a good leader, you also got to be a good follower. What do I mean by that? You got to be a good listener. You got to be willing to do the hard work sometimes. Even as a leader, your role is also to emulate the desired end state that you want to have the people that are working with you do. So leadership is not just about giving people orders and telling them what to do and you're just moving on to the next thing. No, leadership is about your character, who you are. So the first thing about being a leader is that you have to have good, strong moral character. You have to have a good ethical background. Not everybody is a leader. They can manage, but not everybody is a leader. So a leader starts with himself. And in the military, particularly in the Army, we talk about be, know, and do. Be means those attributes that are important about yourself that allows you then to lead. Leadership is about influencing others to get the job done, to accomplish the mission, to then take it to the next level. Okay, so part of that leadership is influencing others, right? You guys know how to do that. Mm-hmm. The president is running the organization. He's managing the team here. He's controlling what goes on with the motion. You saw how he pulled it back and said, whoa, wait a minute. You have to say, I move first. So that's him taking control as a leader and making sure things are done the right way. Done the way the organization wants it done. This organization, capital leader. So that's what leadership is about. He is emulating that leadership right now. Remember I talked about be, know, and do. Be means you've got to be about the business. You've got to act out what you want to see all of the people that are in your organization do. So when that happens, you're in a better position to lead the organization to the next level. So I'm going to talk about one other piece before I break it down even further. So communication. Communication as part of leadership is critical because what you communicate and how you communicate will dictate everything else within the organization. And what do I mean by that? Anybody got any thoughts on that? Okay, no worries. I got an answer for you, right? So when you're talking about communication, you want to be clear, concise, and to the point. You want to make sure everyone understands what it is that you're trying to deliver, what it is that you're trying to accomplish, what is the end goal that you're driving toward. So in your communication, you've got to be that clear in terms of what you want to achieve out of whatever task it is that you're going to be working on. So that is part of the critical piece of leadership. So let me back up and talk about, what goes into leadership. There are a couple things that I want you to take away from here. One is your presence, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Two is your character, and then three is the intellect. Okay, so all of those pieces kind of go together to form what leadership is all about and how you perform it. So let's talk about your presence. Okay, how the leader is perceived by his followers is extremely important. Why is that important? Can anybody give me an answer? Yes. I go to you, then I go to you. Go ahead.
So like, if you're a leader, the people who are following you, they look up to you, and they basically live through you, kind of.
Okay, great answer. Yes.
I was gonna say, the way you carry yourself, like if you're always joking around, your followers will see you as a joke, and if you're mean, they won't rely on you as much. They won't trust you. But so you have to have a balance of seriousness and when to kid.
Bingo. Bingo. So both great answers, both are right. Both answers are right. Because when you think about it, that the folks that you're trying to influence, they're looking to you. They're looking to you. But if you're perceived by them as a joke, or someone that's ineffective, or someone that's not smart, or someone that is not about the business, then you are not going to get the best out of that team that you're trying to lead. So your presence is extremely important, because as a leader, you've got to set the example. You've got to be the one that is stepping out and leading by example. That's what we call in the military, leadership by example. When they say, and I don't know if you've heard this phrase before, pick up your weapon and follow me. What does that mean? That means, hey, I'm going to lead you. I'm going to take you down. I'm willing to do everything that you're willing to do, but you're going to follow me so we can get the job done. So I'm not going to be afraid to get out there and step out there and lead by example. And that's what that means. Lead by example. Leadership is extremely important. And your presence as a leader in any role, whether it's a president, secretary, treasurer, or even a member, your presence is equally as important as everyone in the room. Now, we talked about leader and we talked about president, etc., but just as important are those that are following that leader, because you can influence the leader by your presence, by what you are doing and how you are responding. And if you're sitting back with your arms on the table like, nah, I don't believe that. Yeah, well, whatever. I'm not. Then he has lost command of his room as a leader, because you're no longer paying attention. You're no longer following him. So that's when the leader has to dial you back in, bring you back into the fold, and help you be a part and a participant in the organization. So it's important that you understand that, and it deals with professionalism. It deals with confidence in who you are and what you're doing and what you're talking about. So you have to know your topic, have to know your subject. Okay, so all of those about being present in the room at that time. So let's deal with the next one. Your character. Those are the values and the identity that you as a leader are emulating. So that's another critical piece to being a leader. How do you manage? How do you emulate those things that are positive, that influences the rest of the team? What is it that you do that make people want to follow you? It's based on your character. Okay? So that doesn't necessarily mean you're a pushover, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you're too hard. You have to have a balance between when you're commanding and controlling and when you're kind of say, well, okay, well, I can work with that. Let me see how we can deal with that. Okay, so you got to balance between the two, and you got to be able to allow your team to reflect some of the things that you're doing and give you feedback. So as a leader, and and that comes into your character, how you are, whether you're just stern and won't listen to anyone, and that's a leader too. But is that leader the most effective? Not always. Not always. So it depends on the environment. You can have a very stern leader, but if they're in a more commanding and controlling environment, such as the military, they can be very effective because they're in their lane. They have the authority to dictate and control. But if they're running a volunteer committee, that may not necessarily be the best way to run a volunteer committee, because those people more than likely will rebel when you're too stern, when you're too hard. So you have to be able to balance between the two. Know when, as a leader, based on your values, when you have to play which card you're playing. So understand those differences. It's very important. So a lot of that also deals with maintaining your discipline. Not everything you say as a leader, everyone's going to agree with. But as a leader, you have to have the balance and control to understand that, okay, I put out an idea that nobody supports. Let's see if there's something else out there that we can get behind. Let's see how we can accomplish this goal. Let's see what else we can do. There are various ways to get to your end state. And so then you've got to be willing as a leader to dial it back. So you've got to be disciplined to be able to control yourself, in those things. So one of the notes I have here says, character is essential to successful leadership. Character is essential to successful leadership, and that's important. It determines, who people are, how they, how they act, what they look at in terms of what's right and what's wrong. Okay, it really determines who you are and what type of choices that you will choose. So it's up to you. You're in the process right now of developing your character. And most likely you're developing your character based off of who?
Parents.
Bingo. You're developing your character off of your parents. And then you're developing your character off of who else? You're developing your character off of your peers. You're developing your character off your teachers. So now, what's most important about as you develop this character is that you've got to also be able to disseminate what's good and aimable to look forward to, and indoctrinate as your own, and what's not so good. You got to be able to balance that. You got to be able to know what's right from wrong and be able to communicate that. Okay, so that's those things right there kind of talks about how leadership is developed. Now, leadership is a huge topic. There are a lot of books on leadership and management. Management is certainly different from leadership. Does anyone know the difference between leadership and management? Okay, we've got two answers. Go ahead.
I would say they sort of cross paths in a certain way, but management, you don't have to be a leader to know how to manage.
Mm-hmm.
Leadership goes hand in hand with management, but it's definitely one thing that you need to know how to do if you're a leader.
Yeah. Now that's a good point, but can you expound on that? Or do you want me to expound on that a little bit?
Yeah,
because you bring up a very good point. All right, leadership and management, they do dissect each other, but not every manager is a leader. Okay, managers are usually managing a process, managing people, managing a concept, and they're looking at facts, figures, and that kind of helps and shape their focus. Whereas leaders are more in terms of visionary. They're more innovative. Okay, they're looking at how you can do things, and they're looking toward the future of the organization or that whatever it is that they're involved in to improve that organization. So they're looking to ways to influence everyone else to get that job done. Whether it's culture, looking at how do we influence the culture, how do we change the culture, how do we get folks to buy into what we want to be when we grow up, so to speak. Okay, so that's the difference, is that a leader is going to be visionary. They're going to be looking at ways to influence the people to get the job done in a fashion that's going to propel the organization in a different direction. Whereas a manager is more focused on end result right here, right now, today, versus, what is it going to be a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now. And usually, strong leaders, they're looking at 3 to 5 years. That's how they're looking at their vision, is how do I take the organization from where it is today to 3 years from now? What is it going to look like, and how do I want to shape it? So you got a great point. Go ahead, Mr. President.
I was thinking of a quote that I interpreted by Simon Sinek. Leaders have the people, and managers have the title, which means basically leaders could be anyone and anything. You don't have to have a title to be a leader. You could be a leader just by doing something that's simple or something that's could be hard. Managers have people that you're telling them what to do. You're not showing them.
Mm-hmm. Excellent point. Excellent point. And case in point, you can be a leader in a group. The president can say, well, you know what? What's your name? I'm sorry? Cameron? Cameron, I want you to lead this team. And I want this team to develop our Christmas party. And I want it to have some nice stuff. So now you just became the leader. And you're going to have other folks in your group that you're now going to be leading. So now it's no longer the president leading the group, it's Cameron. So you're in charge. So he's absolutely right. You can have various people that are involved that can become leaders because of a process or something that they've put in charge of. So everyone needs to understand what those traits are so that they then can emulate those traits when they get that opportunity. Anybody else got any comments on that?
I think we will be remiss. Unfortunately, you came a little bit later. But Brother Thompson had offered the young men an opportunity to share what they admired. And I think that gave us a good opportunity to look into how they process things. Each of them went through what they admired, but one of the characteristics that I've learned of good character is having values and recognizing what you value. And each of you, whether you recognize that or not, you share what you value. And that is critical that you identify very early what you value. Some people may value relationships with their parents or shoes or whatever, but it's whatever you value, you need to recognize that very soon. The earlier you recognize that in your lives, the better life will be for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well said. Well said. Thank you. Thank you. So, one of the other things about leadership is that we all need to know, and that is you need to know your skill. You need to master what it is, whatever it is that you do, okay? You need to be the best at it. Your skill, your competency, your proficiency in your job, when you're in a leadership capacity, it's got to be top notch. It's got to be above reproach. Nobody else can do what you do because you have that skill set. You have mastered your skill. So that's knowledge. When they talk about it in the leadership books, they talk about knowledge, and then they expound on it and saying, mastery of your skill, being proficiency at what you do and how you do it. So you got to stay on point. Now, the one thing I'll tell you is that we never stop learning. We never stop learning. We're always learning. And I'll tell you, just for me, just 2 months ago, I just received my CIC designation, Commercial Certified Insurance Counsel designation. Okay, I worked hard to get that designation. You know, everything I did to acquire that designation required me to write an essay for every single test that I took, and there were five exams over a period of 5 years that I had to take to do that. So I'm just saying that to say you never stop learning. You keep growing, you keep growing, you keep growing, and you master your skill, you master your trait. Because when you become a leader, they're going to be expecting you then to be able to talk about what it is that you're trying to get them to do. Because you're now trying to influence them to do a job for you, but if you don't know what it is you're trying to get them to do, guess what? It ain't going to work. Now that doesn't mean you need to know everything, but you certainly need to know as much as you can that you have a grasp of the topic, the issue, the organization that you're leading, so that then you can influence the others that you want to try to get to the next level to accomplish the job, accomplish the task, or whatever the case may be. Okay, so that's another piece. So how am I doing on time here?
Fine.
So let me just talk about a couple of other pieces. I think Brother Mitchell touched on it for a second. Values, you know, integrity. Integrity is, to me, one of the most important things that you can have. Your integrity, okay? Don't ever lose it. Don't ever lose your integrity. What does that mean to most of you? What does it mean to me? It means that I have a conviction of things that I think that are important, that are right, versus things that are wrong, doing things the right way, communicating with one another, being trustworthy, being committed, being dedicated to whatever it is, whatever task that it is that you're committed to. If I tell someone that I'm going to be here, I'm not say that word. If I tell someone that I'm going to be here, I'm going to be here. Okay. Now I was late today, but I did let Brother Thompson know that because of my military commitment this morning, I wasn't able to get here at 12 like I had intended to. But I'm here. So that's part of that commitment. That's part of my DNA. So you got to develop your own DNA. You know, who are you? What do you stand for? What do you believe in? How do you manage those things when you have opposing forces that are pulling you in a direction that you may not want to go? So you got to let that stand up for you. Your character, your integrity, your honesty, and your truth, right? Let those things stand up for you. Yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was time.
Oh, okay.
I was just telling you how.
Oh, I got 10 minutes? 5 minutes. Which one is it? Okay, I got you. He did it twice, so I'm thinking 10 minutes. All right, so I got 5 minutes, which is good because I got 5 things I want to talk about. And I'll hit them very quickly. Loyalty. Okay, one of the other things that we talk about is being loyal. Okay, now what does that really mean? Does that mean you're going to be loyal to the person and follow him to the end of the world and jump off the bridge because of it? No. You got to understand what that truly means. Loyalty deals with the fact that you have a commitment to doing certain things. And you are going to live through those things and work through those things. If loyalty conflicts with your moral character, then you certainly should not do that. Okay? There are things that, and I'm sure you guys are seeing and hearing now, you know, some of the things that are happening in society that is not the right way to handle things. We should not follow someone just because they say, you need to be loyal to me because I'm the president. Well, come on. You know, you got to give me more than that. That's where it comes back to that leadership. that character, your good moral character, your ethical standards. People are more apt to follow you and be loyal to you when they know that you have good standards. You come from good stock, and all of you come from good stock. So your families have raised you, and you come from good stock. So let me move on to the next one. Dedication. If there's something that you're committed to, always be dedicated to it. Make sure that you follow through and see it through. Okay? If you're committed to something, or you commit to someone to do something, live up to your word. Your word is your bond. All of those things go into being a strong leader, being an effective leader, knowing your craft, knowing your task. And then the last two things I want to mention here is honor. Honor should be one of the things that you carry with yourself at all times. Always be honorable in the task that you're involved in the task that you're doing. When you look back on it, or your parents look back on it, you want them to say, my son was very effective at his job. He was very honorable and diligent in doing his duty. And that nothing brought us harm or shame. That is being honorable, because all of your families want to know that you're all good people and you work hard and you do a great job. So always look at that and try to put yourself in a position that you're always protecting your honor. Once you lose it, it's difficult to earn it back. You can, but it's difficult. So you got to make sure you do that. And then the last thing is trust. Trustworthiness is critical in everything we do, because people want to believe in you. So every leader has to have the ability to have trust from those that he's trying to lead. If he doesn't have that, then chances are he's not going to succeed in completing the mission that he's been tasked with doing. So you got to build that. Your trust is not something that's given. Trust is earned, and you got to earn it with all of the actions that you do. Okay? Both as a leader and as a follower. Trust is a two-way street. You give trust, they give it back to you. They give you trust, you give it back to them. But it's not something that's automatically given, it's earned. Now, at your stage, it's inherent that we all trust you. But we're all going to work to earn each other's trust. And that's how it works. So I think that was the last one. Yeah. So that concludes my presentation on leadership. Any questions? And I will tell you, I didn't do this as the opening. I know you introduced me as a 5-star General Eisenhower. I am not General Eisenhower. But I am Brigadier General Lorenza Cooper. I'm also the president of the Metropolitan Youth Capital Foundation. And I've also, had numerous leadership positions in the private sector with several insurance companies. I was vice president, branch vice president, regional president, or regional vice president. So I've had a lot of opportunity to look at, leadership and influence